You hear the word sustainability thrown around a lot, right? But what does it actually mean, especially in real estate? Well, what if I told you the entire story? The good, the bad, and the really complicated is playing out right now in one of the most famous places on Earth. Today, we're going to look at what sustainability really means through the lens of a paradise under some serious pressure. Just picture it. Tulum, Mexico. You've definitely seen it on your Instagram feed. The perfect white sand beaches, those incredible Mayan ruins looking out over the Caribbean. It has this reputation as an eco-chic bohemian escape, and for years that image has worked like a magnet, pulling people in from all over the world.
And when I say it pulled people in, I mean it. In 2018 alone, just the main archaeological site in Tulum had over 2.2 million visitors. I mean, that's a staggering number for what was once a quiet little coastal town. It was the signal of a massive tourism and real estate boom. But what happens when a place gets that popular, that fast?
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with Tulum's incredible rise, and then dig into the hidden costs of that growth. Next, we'll unpack the 3 pillars of sustainability. It's a great way to understand what's really going on. Then we'll apply that framework to Tulum's search for balance, and finally, look at what the future of development could and maybe should look like. So let's start with that boom. How did Tulum go from a sleepy town to this absolute A-list international hotspot? Well, first off, location, right? Tulum is perfectly placed on Mexico's famous Riviera Maya. It's part of a coastline that's already a global tourism machine, known for just stunning natural beauty and, of course, its rich history.
And the numbers, they really tell the story. Look at this chart. Hotel occupancy rates were consistently pushing 80% full year after year, even before 2020. Now, this isn't just a seasonal blip, this is a sustained high-demand market. And that constant flow of tourist dollars is exactly what poured gasoline on the fire of development.
But that fire, that explosion of growth, came with a serious price tag. This is where that picture-perfect image starts to get a lot more complicated, and we start to see the real cost of such rapid and, frankly, unplanned expansion.
This quote from one of our sources just nails it. The boom kicked off this intense land grab, but the town's infrastructure, the roads, the sewers, all the basics, it just couldn't keep up. It led to traffic nightmares and, most importantly, it started doing real damage to the very environment that made Tulum so special to begin with.
And this isn't just a feeling people have. The data is just stark. Look at this table. It shows the rates of environmental non-compliance in 2018. The real estate sector? A staggering 73.3% were not following the rules. That's a direct, undeniable link between the building boom and the environmental damage.
And all of this leads to the fundamental question, not just for Tulum, but for any growing community anywhere. How do you find that balance between development and preservation? How do you grow without, eating the soul of a place?
To even begin to answer that, we need a better framework for understanding what sustainability really is. It's not just about solar panels and recycling bins. To really get it, we need to look at the 3 core pillars that hold the whole idea up.
So the World Tourism Organization has this official definition, and it's perfect. The key takeaway is that true sustainability has to account for all the impacts, the economic, the social, and the environmental. It's about meeting the needs of everyone involved, not just the tourists and the industry, but the environment and, maybe most importantly, the local communities who call the place home.
So let's break that down. Think of sustainability like a 3-legged stool. First, you have the environmental pillar. That's the obvious one, protecting nature, conserving resources. The second leg is the social-cultural pillar. This is all about respecting the local culture and making sure the community actually benefits from the growth. And the third leg is the economic one. That means creating stable, long-term jobs and making sure the wealth is shared fairly. Now, here's the most important part. For a place to be truly sustainable, it needs all 3 legs. If one is weak or broken, the whole stool just tips over.
So what happens when we use this 3-legged stool idea to look at Tulum? Well, you start to see a pretty dramatic struggle to stay balanced. On one side, that economic leg of the stool looks incredibly strong. I mean, tourism makes up 87% of the entire state's GDP. That's a monster. But then you look at the social leg. Tulum's Gini index, which is just a way of measuring income inequality, is 0.468. To put that in perspective, 0 is perfect equality. So a number that high tells you that all that money pouring in, it's not being spread around evenly at all. And this chart really paints a clearer picture of that social imbalance. The biggest challenges people in the region face are lack of access to social security, food, and basic health services. So you've got a local community supporting a world-class tourism industry, but many of them aren't sharing in the prosperity or even getting basic securities.
And that leaves the third leg of the stool, the environmental pillar, and it is clearly buckling under the pressure. The mad dash to build has created chaotic urban sprawl, overwhelmed the waste systems, and caused direct damage to the fragile coral reefs. So you can see the imbalance, right? One supercharged economic leg is basically crushing the other two.
So what's the way forward? Is it possible to rebalance those three pillars and actually create a sustainable future for a place like Tulum?
Well, the good news is there are plans to try. The municipal government has laid out an action plan that goes right after these problems. It includes pushing for renewable energy in new buildings, finally fixing the wastewater mess, creating more parks, improving public transit, and this is the big one, managing decisions to actively protect environmental, cultural, and historical resources. This is basically a blueprint for trying to rebuild that three-legged stool.
And that's why this story is so much bigger than just one town in Mexico. Tulum's struggle is a perfect microcosm of a challenge that communities are facing all over the world. It is the central conflict of modern development. How do we create economic opportunity without betraying our responsibility to the planet and to each other? Which leaves us with one final, really important question to think about. When we build and invest in our idea of paradise, what is the true cost? And if we get that balance wrong, who is it that ultimately has to pay the price?